Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of English in Advance. I am your host, Jessica, and I am so happy that you are here with me today to improve your English skills. If you are listening to this, that means you are serious about becoming a fluent and confident English speaker. I know that learning a new language can sometimes feel difficult or frustrating. You might feel like you are studying hard, but you are still not able to speak naturally in real-life situations. That is exactly why I created this channel. We are not going to study boring grammar rules today. Instead, we are going to have a conversation. We are going to talk about daily life, feelings and situations that you actually experience every single day. My goal is to help you stop translating in your head and start thinking in English. So I want you to sit back, relax, and maybe close your eyes for a moment. Just listen to the sound of my voice and the rhythm of the language. Don't worry about understanding every single word perfectly right away. Just try to get the general idea at first. If you want to follow along, you can look at the transcript, but it is even better if you just listen without reading. This helps your ears get used to the natural speed and melody of English. Are you ready? Let's jump right in and start practicing. Today we are going to focus on a topic that is very familiar to all of us. We are going to talk about how to describe your daily routine and your habits, but we are not just going to list actions like I wake up, I eat breakfast, I go to work. That is too simple. We want to sound advanced, right? We want to sound like native speakers. So we are going to learn how to add detail and personality to these simple descriptions. When you meet someone new or when you are catching up with a friend, they often ask you what you have been up to or how your day went. Instead of giving a short answer like it was fine or it was normal, we want to paint a picture with our words. We want the other person to really understand your life and your energy. So let's imagine that it is a typical Tuesday morning. I want you to visualize this scene with me. The alarm goes off. For some people, this is the worst sound in the world. You might say that you are not a morning person. This is a very common and natural phrase to use. If someone asks you if you like waking up early, you can say, actually, I am really not a morning person. It takes me a long time to wake up. Or maybe you are the opposite. Maybe you jump out of bed full of energy. In that case, you could say I am an early bird. I love starting my day before the sun comes up. Let's say you are someone who struggles to wake up. You hear the alarm and you press the snooze button. This is the button that delays the alarm for a few more minutes. You might press it once, twice, or even 3 times. This is called hitting the snooze button. When you finally get out of bed, you probably feel a little bit groggy. This is a great word to learn. Groggy means you feel weak, tired, and a little bit confused. It is that heavy feeling you have right after you wake up. So you might say to a friend, I was feeling so groggy this morning, I just couldn't open my eyes. To fix this feeling, most of us need something to wake us up. For many people, this is coffee. You might say, I can't function without my morning coffee. Function means to work or to operate. So saying you can't function means you cannot do anything until you have had that first cup. Maybe you say, I am addicted to caffeine or I need my caffeine fix to start the day. These are very natural, casual expressions that you will hear all the time in conversations. Now let's move to the bathroom. This is where we get ready for the day. We use the verb to get ready. It covers everything. You might say, I need at least 30 minutes to get ready in the morning. What do you do during this time? You splash some water on your face to wake up. You brush your teeth. You might take a shower to feel fresh and clean. Some people prefer a bath, but usually in the morning, we take a quick shower. If you are in a hurry, you might say, "I jumped in the shower." This implies it was very fast. After the shower, you get dressed. You might pick out your outfit for the day. If you work in an office, you have to put on formal clothes or a suit. If you work from home, you might stay in your pajamas or comfortable clothes, which we often call loungewear or lazy clothes. Then there is grooming. This is brushing your hair, maybe putting on makeup if you wear it, and shaving. You might look in the mirror and say, "Okay, I look presentable." Presentable means you look good enough to go out and see people. You don't look messy. You look neat. You could say, "I finally look presentable, so I can leave the house now." Once you are ready, it is time for breakfast. This is the most important meal of the day, or so they say. What do you usually eat? Do you have a big breakfast or a light breakfast? A big breakfast might include eggs, bacon, toast, and cereal. A light breakfast might just be a piece of fruit or a yogurt. Many people these days are very busy in the mornings, so they might just grab a bite to eat. To grab a bite is a phrasal verb that means to eat something quickly because you don't have much time. You might say, "I didn't have time to sit down, so I just grabbed an apple and ate it on the way to the bus stop." Or you might say, "I grabbed a coffee and a bagel on my way to work." This is very common for people living in big cities. They stop at a cafe and grab their food to go. Another common thing people do is skip breakfast entirely. This means they don't eat it at all. You might say, "I never eat breakfast. I usually just wait until lunch." Or I try to eat breakfast, but sometimes I skip it if I am running late. After breakfast, the real work begins. For many of us, this means commuting. Commuting is the process of traveling from your home to your workplace or school. It can be a stressful time or a relaxing time, depending on how you look at it. If you drive a car, you have to deal with traffic. Traffic is the number of other cars on the road. During rush hour, which is the time in the morning when everyone is going to work, the traffic can be very heavy. You might say, "I was stuck in traffic for an hour this morning." Stuck in traffic means you could not move because there were so many cars. This is a terrible way to start the day. You might feel frustrated or angry. You could say the traffic was bumper to bumper, which means the cars were so close they were almost touching each other. If you take public transportation, like a bus, a train, or the subway, your experience is different. You might say, "I take the train to work every day." During the commute, you might read a book, listen to music, or just look out the window. Some people use this time to be productive. You might say, "I use my commute to answer emails or plan my day." Others use it to relax. You could say, "I just listen to a podcast to zone out." To zone out means to stop thinking about your problems and just let your mind relax. It is a very useful expression. Now let's talk about what happens when you arrive at work or school. This is where we spend a large part of our day. It is important to be able to talk about your job or your studies in English. When you arrive, the first thing you usually do is say hello to your colleagues or classmates. You might ask how they are doing. If it is Monday, people might be tired. If it is Friday, people are usually happy because the weekend is coming. You might say, "It has been a long week. I am so glad it is Friday." Or you might say, "I am swamped with work today." Swamped is a fantastic word to use when you are very busy. It means you have too much work to do. You could say, "I have so many meetings today, I am completely swamped." Another way to say this is, "I am up to my ears in work." This is an idiom. Imagine your ears are covered in work. It means you are overwhelmed with tasks. During your workday, you will have specific tasks to complete. You might have meetings to attend. You could say, I have a meeting with my boss at 10. You might have deadlines to meet. A deadline is the time or date by which something must be finished. You might say, I am working on a big project and the deadline is tomorrow, so I am stressed. If you finish your work early, you might have some downtime. Downtime is time when you are not working. You could say, we have a bit of downtime between meetings, so I am just checking my phone. Or you might take a lunch break. We often just say, I am going on my lunch break now, or I am going to grab some lunch with a coworker. It is very common to socialize during lunch. You might ask your coworker, do you want to grab a bite somewhere nearby? This is a friendly invitation. If you are too busy, you might say, I can't today, I have to eat at my desk. This is called a working lunch. In the afternoon, it is common to feel a little bit tired. This is often called the afternoon slump. You know that feeling around 2 or 3 o'clock when your energy drops and you just want to take a nap? That is the afternoon slump. To fight this, many people drink another cup of coffee or tea. You might say, I need a caffeine pick-me-up. A pick-me-up is something that gives you more energy. It could be coffee, a sweet snack, or even just a short walk. You might say, I am going for a quick walk to get some fresh air and stretch my legs. This helps you wake up and focus for the rest of the day. You might also say, I need to step away from the computer for a moment. My eyes are tired from staring at the screen all day. Staring at the screen is a very common modern problem. So taking breaks is important for your health and your productivity. Finally, the workday comes to an end. This is a great feeling. You might say, I am calling it a day. This is a common expression that means you are stopping work for the day. Or you could say, I am clocking out, which is specifically about the time you record leaving work, but people use it generally too. You might say, I am so tired, I am ready to clock out. When you leave work, you usually go back home. This is the evening commute. It could be just as busy as the morning commute. But now you are thinking about relaxing. When you get home, you might say, I am finally home. You change out of your work clothes into something comfortable. This is very satisfying. You put on your sweatpants or your pajamas. You might say, I am getting comfy. It is time to unwind. To unwind is the opposite of winding up or getting stressed. It means to relax and release the tension of the day. You could say, I just want to unwind and watch some TV, or I need a hot bath to unwind. In the evening, people usually have dinner. Some people like to cook dinner at home. Cooking can be a fun hobby or a chore, depending on how you feel. You might say, I love cooking. It relaxes me. Or you might say, I am too tired to cook tonight, so I am ordering takeout. Takeout is food you buy from a restaurant and take home to eat. You might say, let's order pizza for takeout. Another option is delivery, where the food comes to your door. After dinner, there are many things you can do. This is your free time. You might watch a movie or a series on Netflix. You might say, have you seen any good movies lately? Or I am binge watching a new show. Binge watching means watching many episodes of a TV show in a row, one after another. It is a very popular way to relax these days. You might also read a book, play video games, or call a friend on the phone. You might say, I'm going to chat with my friend for a while. Before you go to sleep, you probably have a nightly routine. This is similar to the morning routine, but for the end of the day. You might lock the doors, turn off the lights, and brush your teeth again. You might say, I'm getting ready for bed. If you had a stressful day, you might try some meditation or listen to calm music to help you sleep. You could say, I need to clear my mind before I sleep. To clear your mind means to stop thinking about your worries. Then finally, you get into bed. You pull the covers up. The covers are the blankets and sheets. You might say, I am so cozy in bed. Cozy means warm, comfortable, and safe. Then you drift off to sleep. Drift off is a beautiful way to say fall asleep. It happens slowly and gently. You could say, I was so tired, I drifted off immediately. And that brings us to the end of another day. Now let's take a moment to review some of the phrases and expressions we used, but I want you to just listen and remember the feeling of them. We talked about not being a morning person or being an early bird. We talked about hitting the snooze button and feeling groggy. We said we can't function without coffee. We talked about getting ready, getting dressed, and looking presentable. We said we might grab a bite to eat or skip breakfast. We discussed being stuck in traffic or taking the train. At work, we talked about being swamped and having deadlines. We mentioned the afternoon slump and needing a pick-me-up. We said we call it a day when we leave work. We went home to unwind and get comfy. We ordered takeout or binge-watched a show. And finally, we drifted off to sleep. Can you see how using these specific words makes your story much more interesting? If you just say, I woke up, I ate, I worked, I slept, it is boring. But if you say, I struggled to get out of bed because I am not a morning person, but then I grabbed a coffee and felt better, even though I was stuck in traffic, it tells a story. It shows your personality. Now it is your turn to practice. I am going to give you a few scenarios and I want you to imagine yourself in that situation. Try to say the answer out loud. Don't worry about making mistakes. Just focus on speaking and using the new words. First, imagine you wake up and it is raining outside. It is dark and cold. How do you feel? You might say, ugh. I am so not a morning person, especially when it is raining. I really want to hit the snooze button and stay in bed. Or maybe you say the weather makes me feel even more groggy than usual. Now imagine you have a very busy day at work. Your boss gives you 3 new projects. What would you tell your friend at lunch? You might say, I am completely swamped today. My boss just gave me so much work, I don't even know where to start. Or you could say, I am up to my ears in work. I probably won't be able to leave on time today. Now imagine it is Friday evening and you are finally home. You have had a long week. What do? You might say, I am so glad it is Friday. I am going to order some pizza, put on my sweatpants, and binge watch my favorite show all night. I just need to unwind. And finally, imagine you are telling someone about your morning commute. You drove to work and there were cars everywhere. You might say the traffic was terrible this morning. I was stuck in a jam for 40 minutes. I was almost late for my meeting. Or if you took the bus, you might say the bus was crowded and noisy, so I just put on my headphones and listened to this podcast to zone out. That is a great thing to say. Did you notice that? As you practice these phrases, they will become natural to you. You won't have to think about them. They will just come out when you are speaking. This is the key to fluency. It is not about knowing every word in the dictionary. It is about knowing the right phrases for the right situation. And the only way to get there is to listen and to practice speaking as much as you can. So I encourage you to talk to yourself in English. Narrate your day. When you are making breakfast, say what you are doing. I am toasting the bread. I am frying an egg. I am pouring the coffee. When you are driving or walking to work, describe what you see. The traffic is slow today. It is sunny outside. I see a lot of people waiting for the bus. Talking to yourself might feel silly at first, but it is one of the best ways to build your confidence and your speaking muscles. We also want to talk about connecting your ideas smoothly. In English, we use transition words to connect sentences. This makes you sound more fluent. For example, instead of saying, I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I ate breakfast, you can say first, I woke up. Then I brushed my teeth. After that, I ate breakfast. Later, I went to work. These words like first, then, next, after that, and finally help the listener follow your story. They act like signposts. They show the order of events. So try to use them when you are describing your day. You might say, first thing in the morning, I check my phone, then I get out of bed. After I shower, I get dressed. Before I leave, I make a cup of coffee to go. To go means to take it with you. So you say, I make a coffee to go. It is a small detail, but it sounds very natural. Another important aspect of sounding natural is using contractions. We've talked about this before, but it is worth mentioning again. Contractions are when we shorten two words into one. For example, I am becomes I'm. Do not becomes don't. Will not becomes won't. Native speakers almost always use contractions when they are speaking. If you say, I do not like waking up early, it sounds like a robot or very formal. But if you say, I don't like waking up early, it sounds friendly and human. So when you practice, try to use contractions. Instead of saying, I am going to the store, say, I'm going to the store. Instead of saying, it is a beautiful day, say it's a beautiful day. It makes a huge difference in how you sound. Let's practice a short story together with all these elements. Imagine you are telling a friend about your yesterday. Listen to how I put it all together. So yesterday was a bit crazy for me. I woke up late because I accidentally turned off my alarm instead of hitting snooze. I felt really groggy and rushed. I didn't even have time to shower, so I just washed my face and threw on some clothes. I definitely didn't look presentable. I grabbed a banana for breakfast and ran to the bus stop. Of course, the bus was late, and once I got on, we got stuck in terrible traffic. I was so stressed I thought I was going to scream, but when I finally got to work, my coworker brought me a donut and a coffee, which was a nice pick-me-up. The day was super busy and I was swamped with paperwork, but I managed to finish everything by 5 o'clock. I was so ready to call it a day. When I got home, I ordered some Thai food for delivery, put on my pajamas, and just relaxed on the couch. I was so tired I almost drifted off right after dinner. Did you notice the flow? I used so many specific words: rushed, threw on, swamped, pick me up, call it a day, drifted off, and I used contractions like didn't, I'm, it's. That is how a real person speaks. Now you try. I want you to think about a recent day you had. It could be yesterday, or it could be last weekend. Just pick a day. In your head, go through the day step by step. What happened in the morning? What was the weather like? How did you feel? What did you eat? How did you get to where you were going? What happened during the day? Did anything stressful happen? Did anything funny happen? How did you feel in the evening? What did you do to relax? Now take a deep breath and try to tell the story out loud. Start with yesterday was or last weekend was. Don't think too much about grammar. Just focus on communicating the story. Use the words we learned today if they fit. If you get stuck, it is okay. Just pause and try to find a different way to say it. Maybe you don't know the word for a specific vegetable, so you just say a green vegetable. That is fine. The goal is to keep speaking. Record yourself on your phone if you can. Then listen to it. You will hear your progress. You will hear where you sound good and where you need to improve. I also want to talk a little bit about pronunciation today, specifically about intonation. Intonation is the music of the language. It is the way your voice goes up and down when you speak. English is not a flat language. We don't speak like robots. We use our voice to show emotion and to show which parts of the sentence are important. For example, if you say, "I am tired" with a flat voice, it sounds boring. But if you say, "I am so tired" with your voice going down on tired, it shows you really feel it. When we ask questions, our voice usually goes up at the end. Are you hungry? Do you want to go home? When we make statements, our voice usually goes down at the end. I am hungry. I want to go home. This is called falling intonation. It makes you sound confident and sure. If you keep your voice going up at the end of statements, you might sound unsure or like you are asking a question. So try to let your voice fall at the end of your sentences. It sounds much more natural. Listen to me. I love coffee. My day was long. I am happy to be here. Hear how my voice drops? Now you try. Say these sentences with me. I had a great day. The traffic was bad. I am learning English. Good. Now try adding more emotion. I am so exhausted. This coffee is delicious. I can't wait for the weekend. Excellent. It makes a big difference, doesn't it? Another tip for intonation is to stress the important words in the sentence. These are usually the content words, like nouns, verbs, and adjectives. The small grammar words, like at, to, the, and is, are usually not stressed. For example, in the sentence, I am going to the store, the important words are going in store. So we say, I'm going to the store. We say going in store louder and clearer. We say am to, and the very quickly and quietly. This is called the rhythm of English. It sounds like da, 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 da. I'm going to the store. If you stress every word equally, it sounds robotic and unnatural. It sounds like I am going to the store. That is not how we speak. So try to focus on the important words and glide over the small words. Let's practice with a long sentence. I usually wake up early, but today I slept in. The important words are usually wake, early, today, slept, in. So we say, I usually wake up early, but today I slept in. Can you hear the rhythm? It is like a wave. It goes up and down. This takes time to master, but just being aware of it will help your listening and your speaking. When you listen to native speakers, pay attention to which words they stress. Let's talk about some common situations you might face where you need to speak English quickly and naturally. Imagine you are at a coffee shop. The barista asks, "What can I get for you?" You need to be ready. You might say, "Hi, can I have a large latte, please?" Or could I get a cappuccino with oat milk? It is polite to say please and thank you. If they ask for your name, spell it clearly for them. If it is too loud, don't be afraid to ask them to repeat. You can say, "Sorry, could you say that again?" Or "I didn't catch that." That is a very useful phrase. I didn't catch that means I didn't hear you. Another common situation is meeting someone for the first time. You shake hands and say, "Nice to meet you." You might say, "I'm Jessica. Nice to meet you." They might say, "Where are you from?" You can say, "I'm from Japan," or "I'm from Brazil." You can ask them back, "How about you?" or "Where are you from?" Small talk is an important skill. Small talk is conversation about safe, simple topics like the weather, the weekend, or your job. You might say, "It's a beautiful day today, isn't it?" Or "Do you have any plans for the weekend?" These questions help build a connection. Imagine you are at a party and you don't know anyone. This can be scary, but it is a great chance to practice. You could walk up to someone and say, "Hi, I don't think we've met. I'm your name." Or you could make a comment about something happening around you. You could say, "This music is great," or "The food looks delicious." People are usually happy to talk. If the conversation stops, it is okay. You can say, "Well, it was nice talking to you," and excuse yourself. You don't have to stay in one conversation all night. The goal is just to practice opening your mouth and speaking. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Another situation is asking for help. You might be lost in a new city. You see a police officer or someone friendly. You can say, "Excuse me, sorry to bother you, but I am lost. Could you help me find the subway station?" Most people will be very happy to help. You can also ask for directions to a specific place. "Can you tell me how to get to the nearest pharmacy?" If they give you complicated instructions, you can ask them to speak more slowly. You could say, "Sorry, could you speak a little more slowly, please? I am learning English." People are usually very patient when they know you are trying to learn their language. There is no shame in asking for help or asking someone to repeat themselves. It is better to ask and understand than to nod and smile and be lost. Let's talk a little about feeling nervous. It is completely normal to feel nervous when speaking a second language. You worry about making mistakes. You worry about your accent. You worry that people won't understand you. But I want to tell you a secret. Native speakers make mistakes in their own language all the time. We forget words. We stutter. We say things the wrong way. It is part of communication. The goal of language is not perfection. The goal is connection. If you can communicate your idea, even imperfectly, you have succeeded. So don't let the fear of making mistakes stop you from speaking. Every mistake is a lesson. It is a stepping stone to fluency. If you say something wrong and someone corrects you, say thank you. Don't feel embarrassed. Be happy that you learned something new. Think of English like a sport or a musical instrument. You cannot get better without practicing, and when you practice, you will make errors. That is just part of the process. So my advice to you is to be brave, be confident. Even if you don't feel confident, fake it. Stand up straight. Speak loudly enough to be heard. Look the other person in the eye. Smile. These nonverbal cues help a lot. If you look scared and mumble, people will have trouble understanding you. But if you look confident and speak clearly, people will focus on your message, not your grammar. So visualize yourself as a fluent speaker. Imagine yourself speaking English easily and naturally. Believe that you can do it, because you can. You are already doing the hard work by listening to this podcast and practicing. You are improving every single day. Maybe you don't see the progress immediately, but it is happening. It is like a plant growing. You don't see it growing from day to day, but after some time, it is big and strong. Your English brain is growing right now. Let's do a quick listening exercise. I am going to describe a scene, and I want you to visualize it in your mind. Try to understand every word I say. Close your eyes. Imagine you are walking in a beautiful park. It is a warm spring afternoon. The sun is shining brightly, but there's a cool breeze. The sky is a brilliant blue with a few fluffy white clouds. You can hear the birds singing in the trees. You see children playing on the grass, running and laughing. A dog is chasing a ball. You walk past a flower bed full of colorful flowers, red roses, yellow tulips, and purple lavender. The smell is wonderful. You see an old wooden bench under a large oak tree. You decide to sit down and take a break. You take a deep breath of fresh air. You feel peaceful and happy. You watch the people walking by. An old couple is holding hands. A young woman is jogging with headphones on. You feel a sense of calm. You reach into your bag and take out a bottle of water. It is cool and refreshing. You sit there for 10 minutes, just enjoying the moment. Then you check your watch and realize you have to go. You stand up, stretch your legs, and continue your walk with a smile on your face. Did you see that scene in your mind? That is the power of descriptive language. When you listen, try to create a movie in your head. It helps you remember words and understand context better. We can also use this technique for feelings. How do you feel when you are happy? You might say, "I feel on top of the world." This is an idiom that means you feel extremely happy and successful. You feel like you are standing on the highest mountain. How do you feel when you are sad? You might say, "I feel down in the dumps." This means you feel very low and depressed, or "I feel a bit blue." Blue is a color associated with sadness. How do you feel when you are angry? You might say, "I am furious," or "I lost my temper." This means you couldn't control your anger anymore. How do you feel when you are surprised? You might say, "I was shocked," or "I couldn't believe my eyes," or "it blew my mind." This means it was amazing and surprising. Using these expressions makes your speaking more colorful and expressive. Instead of just saying, "I am happy" or "I am sad," you give the listener a better idea of the intensity of your feelings. Let's talk about plans for the future. We often use the phrase "going to" for plans. I am going to visit my grandmother next weekend. We are going to watch a movie tonight. For more spontaneous decisions, we use will. It is cold in here. I will close the window. The phone is ringing. I will get it. Notice the difference. Going to is a plan you made before. Will is a decision you make right now. You can also use might or may for possibilities. I might go to the beach tomorrow if the weather is nice. I may buy a new car next year. These show that you are not sure yet. It is just a possibility. Using these correctly will help you sound more advanced. So when you are talking about your weekend, don't just say "on Saturday I play tennis." Say "on Saturday I'm going to play tennis," or "I might play tennis, I haven't decided yet." Another topic that comes up a lot is travel. Who doesn't love to travel? If you are talking about a past trip, you use the past tense. I went to Paris last year. It was amazing. I saw the Eiffel Tower and I ate delicious croissants. If you are talking about a future trip, you can say "I am planning to go to Italy next summer." I want to visit Rome and Florence. I am looking forward to it. Looking forward to means you are excited about it. You can also talk about your dream destination. My dream destination is New Zealand. I hope to go there one day. When you travel, you need to go to the airport. You have to check in your luggage or bags. You go through security. Then you wait at the gate to board your plane. You might say my flight was delayed, which means it was late. Or I had a long layover in Dubai, which means I had to wait there for several hours for my next flight. These are useful travel words. You might say I love window seats because I can see the view, or I prefer aisle seats so I can get up and walk around easily. When you arrive in a new country, you have to go through customs and immigration. They check your passport. Then you pick up your luggage from the baggage claim. Sometimes the baggage claim is crowded. If your luggage doesn't arrive, you have to go to the lost baggage counter. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Then you leave the airport. You might take a taxi, a shuttle bus, or a train to your hotel. When you get to the hotel, you check in. The receptionist asks for your name and passport. They give you your key card. You might ask what time is breakfast served, or is there free Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi is very important for travelers these days. You might say, I need to connect to the Wi-Fi to check my emails. Then you go up to your room and unpack. You might say the room is spacious and clean, or the view from the balcony is breathtaking. Breathtaking means so beautiful it takes your breath away. I want to encourage you to consume as much English content as you can outside of this podcast. Listen to English music. Watch English movies and TV shows with English subtitles, or even without subtitles if you are brave. Read English news articles or books. The more you surround yourself with the language, the faster you will learn. This is called immersion. You don't have to live in an English-speaking country to immerse yourself. You can create an English bubble in your own home. Change the language settings on your phone to English. Follow English pages on social media. Think in English throughout the day. If you are cooking dinner, narrate it in your head. Now I am chopping the onions. Now I am boiling the water. This constant practice is what separates the learners from the fluent speakers. It takes effort, but it is worth it. I know that sometimes you might feel stuck. You might feel like you have reached a plateau and you are not improving anymore. This is a common feeling. It happens to everyone at some point. The important thing is not to give up. When you feel like this, try something new. Change your study routine. If you usually listen to podcasts, try reading a book. If you usually study grammar, try watching a comedy show. Sometimes we just need a change of pace to reignite our motivation. Also, remember why you started learning English. What is your goal? Is it to get a better job? Is it to travel? Is it to make friends from other countries? Keep that goal in your mind. Let it motivate you. Imagine yourself achieving that goal. How will you feel? Proud? Excited? Hold on to that feeling. Let's do a final practice round together. I am going to ask you some questions, and I want you to answer them in your mind. Or even better, say your answers out loud. Here's the first one. What is one thing you love to do on the weekends? Take your time. You might say, I love to go hiking with my friends, or I enjoy sleeping in late and reading a good book, or I like to explore new cafes in the city. There is no right or wrong answer. Just express yourself. Next question. What is a food that you absolutely hate? This is a fun one. You might say, I cannot stand spicy food, it burns my mouth. Or I really hate cilantro, it tastes like soap to me. Or I am not a fan of seafood. I can't stand is a strong way to say you hate something. Not a fan of is a softer way to say you don't like something. Next question. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go? You might say, I would go to London because I love the history. Or I would go to Hawaii because I love the beach. Or I would go to Japan to try the authentic sushi. Use your imagination. Final question. How are you feeling today, right now? Be honest. You might say, I am feeling a bit tired but happy. Or I am feeling motivated and ready to learn. Or I am feeling a little stressed because I have a lot of work to do. Whatever your answer is, accept it. It is okay to have different feelings on different days. Language learning is a journey, and it has its ups and downs. Some days you feel like a genius, and other days you feel like you know nothing. This is normal. Just keep going. Keep listening. Keep speaking. And keep believing in yourself. I want to thank you for spending this time with me today. I really enjoy sharing these tips and stories with you. I hope you found this episode helpful and that you learned some new words and expressions that you can use in your daily life. Remember, the key to fluency is practice. Don't just listen to this episode once, listen to it multiple times. Write down the phrases that you liked. Repeat them out loud until they feel natural. Share this podcast with your friends who are also learning English. Learning together is always more fun. You can practice the dialogues with each other. If you have any topics you want me to cover in future episodes, please leave a comment and let me know. I love hearing from you. Before we finish, I want to give you a small homework assignment. I want you to write a short paragraph about your perfect day. Use at least 3 of the new expressions we learned today. It could be hit the snooze button, swamped, unwind, grab a bite, or any others. Write it down, then read it out loud. Record yourself if you can. This will help reinforce what you have learned. For example, you could write, "My perfect day would start with no alarm clock. I would wake up naturally and not feel groggy. I would grab a bite to eat at a nice cafe and then go for a walk. In the afternoon, I would do some painting, which I love, without feeling swamped by other tasks. In the evening, I would cook a nice dinner and unwind with a movie." See? It is simple, but effective. Keep up the great work. You are doing amazing. Every time you listen to this podcast, you are getting one step closer to your goal. Be proud of yourself. I am proud of you. Until next time, keep practicing, keep smiling, and remember that English is not just a subject, it is a tool for communication and connection. Use it to connect with the world. This is Jessica from English in Advance signing off. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye for now. We explored the vocabulary of work, commuting, and relaxing at home. I hope you have been practicing those phrases and perhaps even writing about your perfect day. Today we are going to expand our world. We are going to step out of the house and venture into the wider world to talk about 2 of the most important topics in conversation: health and socializing. These are things we talk about with friends, family, and even colleagues almost every day. Being able to describe how you feel physically and express your opinions on social plans is crucial for sounding like a fluent speaker. So just like before, find a comfortable spot, maybe grab a cup of tea or a glass of water, and let's continue this journey together. Let's start by focusing on health and the body. We all have days where we feel great, but we also have days where we don't feel quite right. In English, we have many ways to describe these feelings without sounding too dramatic or too medical. Imagine you wake up and your head hurts. You don't want to say, "I have a cephalalgia," which is the medical term. That sounds too formal. Instead, you would say, "I have a headache." But native speakers often use phrasal verbs to describe their symptoms. For example, you might say, "I am coming down with a cold." To come down with something means that you are starting to get sick. You feel the first symptoms, like a sore throat or a runny nose. You could say to your friend, "I think I'm coming down with something. I feel a bit achy." Achy means your body hurts in a general way. You might also say, "I am feeling under the weather." This is a very common, polite idiom. It means you are feeling sick, but not critically ill. You might say, "I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, so I might stay home and rest." Sometimes we have specific small problems that bother us. For instance, you might eat something that doesn't agree with you. If your stomach hurts, you can say, "I have an upset stomach." Or you might say, "My stomach is acting up." To act up means to malfunction or cause pain. You could say my allergies are acting up today because of the pollen. If you ate too much spicy food, you might say I have a bit of heartburn. Or if you feel like you need to vomit, you can say I feel nauseous. That is a difficult word to pronounce for some learners. It sounds like nauseous. You might also say I feel like I'm going to be sick. This is a simpler, more direct way to say it. If you actually do vomit, in casual conversation we often say I threw up or I was sick. In British English, you might hear people say I was sick all over the carpet, which means they vomited. It is a bit gross, but it is good vocabulary to know just in case. What about feeling tired? We mentioned being tired before, but there are stronger words. If you worked a double shift or didn't sleep at all, you might say, I am exhausted. Exhausted means completely empty of energy, or you could say, I am drained. This is a great word. It implies that someone or something has taken all your energy. You might say that meeting was so long, I feel totally drained. Another similar word is worn out. You could say, I am worn out from all the walking we did yesterday. On the other end of the spectrum, if you have too much energy and can't sit still, you might say, I am restless. Or you might say, I have ants in my pants. This is a funny idiom that means you can't stop moving your legs or body because you are excited or nervous. You wouldn't say this in a formal business meeting, but you might say it to a child or a close friend. You could say, sit still, you have ants in pants today. Let's talk about going to the doctor or the pharmacy. In the United States, we say drugstore or pharmacy. In the United Kingdom and Australia, people often say chemist. If you need medicine, you might say, I need to go to the pharmacy to pick up my prescription. A prescription is the paper your doctor gives you that allows you to get specific medicine. If you just need something for a headache, you can buy over-the-counter medicine. This means you don't need a doctor's note. You might say, I need some painkillers. Do you have any ibuprofen or aspirin? Ibuprofen and aspirin are common names for pain relief pills. You might also ask for some cough syrup if you have a cough, or some throat lozenges if your throat hurts. Lozenges are the small candies you suck on to help a sore throat. You might ask the pharmacist, do you have anything for a dry cough? They will recommend a product. You might also ask if they have vitamins, like vitamin C or vitamin D, to boost your immune system. To boost your immune system means to help your body fight sickness. When you visit a doctor, they might ask you, what seems to be the problem today? You should describe your symptoms clearly. You could say, I have a sharp pain in my lower back, or I have a dull ache in my shoulder. A sharp pain is sudden and strong. A dull ache is a continuous, low-level pain. The doctor might listen to your chest with a stethoscope. They might take your blood pressure. They might check your temperature. You might say, I think I have a fever. A fever is when your body temperature is higher than normal. If you are very hot, you might say, I am burning up. If you are freezing cold, even when it is warm, you might say, I have the chills. After examining you, the doctor might give you a diagnosis. This is the medical name for your problem. For example, you have the flu or you have an infection. Then they might prescribe you antibiotics or tell you to get plenty of rest and drink lots of fluids. Fluids means water, juice, and soup. You should follow their advice to get better. Now let's move from physical health to mental health. This is a very important topic today. We often talk about feeling stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is a word we use when we have too much to do and we don't know how to handle it. It feels like a wave crashing over you. You might say, I am feeling overwhelmed with work and family responsibilities right now. Another common feeling is stressed out. You might say, I am so stressed out about the upcoming exam. Some people deal with this by exercising. You might say, I go for a run to blow off some steam. To blow off steam means to release strong emotions or energy. It is like a pressure cooker letting out steam. If you don't blow off steam, you might explode with anger or frustration. Other people like to meditate. You might say, I do 10 minutes of meditation every morning to clear my mind. Others might talk to a therapist. A therapist is a doctor who helps with mental health. It is becoming very common and acceptable to say, I see a therapist, to talk about my anxiety. Anxiety is that feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease. You might say, I get anxiety before speaking in public. Or I have social anxiety, which means I feel nervous in social situations with many people. Depression is a more serious condition where you feel very sad and hopeless for a long time. If you feel this way, it is important to seek help. But for general sadness, we use lighter words. You might say, I am feeling down today, or I am feeling a bit blue, or I am just in a bad mood. A mood is a temporary state of mind. You might say, don't talk to him right now. He is in a bad mood. Or I woke up in a good mood today because the sun is shining. If someone is very irritable and gets angry easily, you might say they are grumpy. Usually we say old men or people in the morning are grumpy. Do not talk to me until I have had my coffee. I am grumpy in the mornings. On the positive side, we want to talk about being healthy and fit. Many people today are conscious about their health. They might say, I am trying to get in shape. To get in shape means to exercise to improve your physical condition. You might say, I have started going to the gym to get in shape. Or you might say, I want to lose a few pounds. To lose weight is to become lighter. The opposite is to gain weight. You might say, I gained a few pounds over the holidays because I ate too much food. People often talk about their diet. A diet is the food you eat, but it often means a plan to lose weight. You might say, I am on a diet, so I am avoiding sugar and carbs. Carbs is short for carbohydrates. Or you might say, I am trying to eat clean. Eating clean means eating natural, unprocessed foods like vegetables and lean meats, and avoiding junk food. Exercise is a huge part of this. You might say, I love working out. Working out means exercising. You can do cardio, which is running, swimming, or cycling, to improve your heart. Or you can lift weights to build muscle. You might say, I am into yoga. I am into is a great way to say you are interested in something or enjoy doing it. You could say, I am really into hiking lately. Another popular activity is jogging. You might say, I go for a jog every morning before work. If you prefer staying indoors, you might say, I follow workout videos on YouTube at home. It is important to stay active. You might say, I try to lead an active lifestyle. If you sit at a desk all day, you have a sedentary lifestyle. Sedentary means sitting down a lot with little exercise. Doctors say a sedentary lifestyle is bad for your health, so they recommend getting up and moving around regularly. Now that we have covered the body, let's cover the heart. I mean socializing and relationships. Humans are social creatures. We love to hang out with friends and family. The verb to hang out is one of the most common phrasal verbs in English. It simply means to spend time with someone casually. You might say, do you want to hang out on Friday? Or we just hung out at my house and played video games. It is very relaxed. There is no specific plan. If you want to do something more organized, you might say, let's catch up. To catch up means to talk to someone you haven't seen in a while to exchange news. You might say, it's been so long, we should grab a coffee and catch up. You might say, let me fill you in on what's been happening. To fill someone in means to give them the details or information they missed. There are many ways to socialize. You might go to a party. If it is someone's birthday, you say, I am going to a birthday party. If it is a celebration for a new house, it is a housewarming party. If it is a celebration before a wedding, it is a bachelor party for men or a bachelorette party for women. At a party, you might mingle. To mingle means to move around and talk to different people. You might say, I was mingling with the guests at the conference. Sometimes parties are loud and wild. They get out of control. We might call this a rager or a crazy party, but sometimes they are quiet and calm. We might call it a get-together. You might say, we are having a small get-together at our place this weekend. It sounds cozy and nice. Food is often the center of socializing. Going out to eat is very popular. You might say, let's go out for dinner, or let's grab lunch. Grab, again, means to get it quickly. When you are at a restaurant, you need to look at the menu. The menu lists the food and drinks. You might ask the server for recommendations. A server is the person who brings your food. You can say, what do you recommend, or what is the special today? The special is a dish that is not usually on the menu or is cheaper today. When you order, you can ask for modifications. For example, you could say, can I get the salad but with dressing on the side? Dressing on the side means the sauce is in a small bowl, not on the salad. Or you could say, I am allergic to nuts. Does this dish contain any nuts? It is important to be clear about allergies. If you are with a group of people and everyone pays for themselves, you can say, let's go Dutch. This is an idiom that means we will split the bill equally, or we will pay separately. You might say, can we split the check? Or separate checks, please. Sometimes one person might offer to treat everyone. This means they will pay for everyone. You might say, don't worry about it, it's my treat, or dinner is on me tonight. Another fun social activity is going to the movies or the cinema. You might say, do you want to catch a movie? To catch a movie means to go and see one. You can buy tickets at the box office or online these days. You might buy popcorn and a soda to snack on during the movie. Some people like to see the latest blockbuster. A blockbuster is a movie that is very popular and makes a lot of money, usually full of action and special effects. Others like independent films or indies, which are often low budget and more artistic. You might say that movie was a tearjerker. A tearjerker is a sad movie that makes you cry. Or you might say it was a comedy. I laughed so hard my sides hurt. Or it was a thriller. It kept me on the edge of my seat. This means you were very excited or nervous because you didn't know what would happen next. Let's talk about dating, which is a specific type of socializing. If you are single, you might be looking for a partner. You might go on a date. A date is a planned romantic meeting. You might say, I have a date on Saturday night. I am nervous. If it is the first time you meet this person, it is a first date. People often go to a nice restaurant or a coffee shop for a first date. You might ask your friend how it went. You could say, did you hit it off? To hit it off means to immediately like each other and get along well. You might say, yeah, we hit it off immediately. We talked for hours. If you didn't like them, you might say there was no spark. A spark is a feeling of romantic connection. You could say he was nice, but there was no spark. If you start dating someone regularly, you might say, We are seeing each other, or we are going steady. These are casual terms. If you are more serious, you might say, we are in a relationship, or we are exclusive, which means you are not dating anyone else. Of course, friendships are just as important. Friends are the family we choose. We talk about best friends, close friends, or just acquaintances. An acquaintance is someone you know but not very well, maybe a coworker or a neighbor. You might say we are just acquaintances. We say hi, but we don't hang out. A best friend is someone you trust completely. You might say, I can tell her anything. She is my rock. She is my rock means she supports you and is strong for you when you are weak. Sometimes friends fight, but usually we make up. To make up means to resolve a conflict and be friends again. You might say we had a big argument, but we made up the next day. It is important to forgive and forget, as the saying goes. Let's talk about personality traits in the context of socializing. When we describe people, we use adjectives. If someone is very friendly and likes to talk to everyone, we say they are outgoing. An outgoing person is not shy. You might say she is so outgoing she can talk to anyone at a party. The opposite is shy or introverted. An introverted person might prefer staying home reading a book rather than going to a loud party. You might say, I am a bit introverted. I need my alone time to recharge. If someone is funny and makes you laugh, they are humorous or witty. You might say he has a great sense of humor. If someone is kind and caring, we say they are sweet or thoughtful. A thoughtful person remembers small details, like your birthday or your favorite food. You might say it was so thoughtful of you to bring me flowers. If someone is always on time and respects rules, they are punctual and reliable. You might say she is very reliable. She always does what she says she will do. If someone is the opposite, always late and messy, we might say they are flaky. A flaky person is someone who cancels plans at the last minute or is unreliable. You might say don't count on him coming. He is a bit flaky. To count on someone means to rely on them. If someone thinks they are better than everyone else, we say they are arrogant or stuck up. You might say, I don't like him. He is too stuck up. If someone is modest and doesn't brag, we say they are humble. You might say he is very successful, but very humble. He never boasts. Boasting means talking about yourself with too much pride. Now, I want to give you some practice scenarios based on socializing and health. Imagine you are talking to a friend on the phone. They ask how you are. You want to tell them you are sick. You might say, hey, I can't make it to dinner tonight. I am feeling under the weather. I think I'm coming down with a cold. I just want to stay in bed and rest. Your friend will likely say, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Make sure you drink plenty of fluids. They might offer to bring you some soup. You can say you are so sweet, thank you. Now imagine you are meeting a new friend for coffee. You want to get to know them. You could ask so. What do you like to do for fun? They might say, I love the outdoors. I am really into hiking and camping. You can reply, that's cool. I am more of a city person myself, but I do enjoy going to the beach sometimes. Do you have any plans for the summer? This keeps the conversation flowing. Imagine you are at a restaurant and the waiter brings you the wrong food. How do you handle this politely? You don't want to be rude. You can say, excuse me, I think there might be a mistake. I ordered the chicken, but this is fish. The waiter will apologize and fix it. You can say, no problem, thank you. Being polite and using expressions like, excuse me, I think, and thank you makes the interaction much smoother. Now imagine you are describing a person you met. You might say, he seems like a nice guy. He is very outgoing and easy to talk to. We hit it off right away. We are planning to hang out again this weekend to watch a movie. This paints a very clear picture of the situation. Let's also talk about expressing opinions. In conversation, we often agree or disagree with people. If you agree, you can say exactly, or I couldn't agree more, or you are absolutely right. If you disagree, you need to be careful not to be too aggressive. You can say, I see your point, but I think, or I am not so sure about that, or in my opinion. Using phrases like, in my opinion, or I feel that softens your statement so it doesn't sound like a fight. For example, if someone says the best movie ever is Star Wars, and you disagree, you could say, well, I see why you like it, but in my opinion, The Godfather is better. Or you could say, I guess we just have different tastes. This is a nice way to end a disagreement without arguing. We also use fillers when we speak. Fillers are words like, While you don't want to use them too much, using a few makes you sound more natural. Native speakers use them all the time. Instead of pausing silently, you might say it was, really interesting. Or I was like, so surprised. Don't worry too much about them. Just let your speech flow naturally. The more you practice, the more comfortable you will become, and the less you will need to pause. Let's focus on some idioms related to relationships and social situations. Have you heard the phrase, to break the ice? To break the ice means to do or say something to relieve tension or start a conversation in a social setting where people don't know each other. You might say, I told a joke to break the ice at the meeting. Another common idiom is to get along like a house on fire. This means you become friends very quickly and strongly. You might say, my sister and her new roommate get along like a house on fire. They are already best friends. If two people are very similar and like the same things, we say they are on the same wavelength. You might say me and John are on the same wavelength. We always know what the other is thinking. If someone is third-wheeling, it means they are hanging out with a couple and feel like a spare part. You might say, I felt like a third wheel when I went to the movies with my brother and his wife. It is not a nice feeling, so try to avoid it. Another useful phrase is to have a blast. This means to have a really great time. You might say, we went to the concert last night and we had a blast. Or I hope you have a blast on your vacation. If you had a bad time, you might say it was a bore, or it was a drag, or simply, I didn't have much fun. If you are tired of a person or a situation, you might say, I am fed up. You might say, I am fed up with this cold weather. I want summer. Or I am fed up with my neighbor playing loud music. It means you are frustrated and have had enough. We should also touch on technology and socializing, since it is such a big part of our lives now. We use our phones to stay in touch. You might say, I'll text you later. Texting is sending a written message on a phone. If you want to talk, you might say, I'll give you a ring. This is an idiom that means to call someone on the phone, or just simply, I'll call you. We also have video calls like FaceTime, Zoom, or Skype. You might say, let's FaceTime tonight. We use social media apps like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or X. You might say, did you see my post on Instagram? Or I tagged you in a photo. To tag someone means to mention their name in a post or photo so they see it. If someone spends too much time on their phone instead of talking to you, you might say, get off your phone, or you are glued to your screen. Glued means stuck, like with glue. It is easy to lose track of time when you are online. You might say, I spent hours scrolling through social media. Scrolling means moving the screen up to see new posts. It can be addictive. We also use the internet to meet people, but we have to be careful. Catfishing is when someone pretends to be someone else online. You might say, be careful. That profile might be a catfish. Ghosting is when you stop talking to someone suddenly without explanation. You might say, I thought the date went well, but then he ghosted me. It's a very rude thing to do, but sometimes you just drift apart. To drift apart means to slowly become less close to someone over time. You might say, we used to be best friends, but we just drifted apart after high school. I want to encourage you to practice these social phrases. The next time you speak to an English speaker, try to use an idiom. Try to say, I had a blast instead of I had fun. Try to say, let's grab a coffee instead of let's drink coffee. These small changes make you sound more fluent and more natural. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. If you use a word incorrectly, the person will probably still understand you, or they might correct you gently. Take it as a learning opportunity. The more you put yourself out there, the faster you will improve. Let's do a listening visualization exercise focused on a social scene. Close your eyes. Imagine you are at a rooftop bar in a big city at night. The sky is dark and the city lights are twinkling like stars. There is soft music playing in the background. You are dressed up nicely. You are holding a glass of sparkling water. The air is cool but pleasant. You are standing with a group of friends, laughing and talking. Someone tells a funny story and everyone laughs. You feel happy and relaxed. You look around and see other people enjoying themselves. A waiter comes by with a tray of appetizers. You take a small bite and it tastes delicious. You lean against the railing and look at the view. You feel a sense of belonging. You turn back to your friend and say, this is such a great night. I'm really glad we came. Your friend smiles and says, me too. It is perfect. Open your eyes. How did that feel? Try to describe that scene using the words we learned. You might say, the atmosphere was buzzing. I was mingling with my friends and we had a blast. The view was breathtaking. Practice describing your own happy memories in English. As we wrap up this part, remember that fluency is not just about grammar rules. It is about connecting with people. It is about sharing your life, your health, your happiness, and your struggles. When you learn phrases like, I am feeling under the weather, or let's hang out, you are learning tools to connect. Don't just memorize lists of words. Learn phrases in context. Learn them as part of a story. And tell your own stories. Every time you speak, you are building your confidence. Tell yourself, I am a good English speaker. I am getting better every day. I can do this. Now, let's expand our horizons even further. Today we are going to talk about two of the most enriching experiences in life, travel and entertainment. These are topics that people love to discuss. Sharing travel stories or talking about a favorite movie or book is a great way to bond with others. So get comfortable. Maybe imagine you are sitting in a cozy cafe with a good view, and let's explore the world of English through the lens of adventure and fun. Let's start with travel. Most of us love the idea of going somewhere new. The feeling of excitement starts before you even leave your house. We call this the pre-trip excitement. You might say, I'm so excited I can hardly wait, or I am counting down the days until my vacation. Counting down the days means you are eagerly waiting for the day to arrive. When you are planning a trip, you usually look at travel guides or websites. You might say, I am browsing through travel blogs looking for inspiration. Browsing means looking at things casually, not looking for anything specific. You might be looking for a destination. Where do you want to go? Do you prefer a beach vacation in the tropics or a city break in a European capital? A city break is a short trip to a city, usually just a few days. Let's imagine you are going on a trip. The first step is booking your tickets. You might say, I managed to snag a cheap flight. To snag something means to get it, often because it was difficult or you were lucky. You might say, I snagged the last seat on the plane. Or you might say the tickets were a bargain. A bargain means a very good price. When you pack your bags, you have to make some decisions. You want to pack light. To pack light means to bring only the things you really need, so your suitcase is not heavy. You might say, I am trying to pack light so I don't have to check a bag. Checking a bag means giving it to the airline to put in the hold of the plane, rather than carrying it on with you. However, some people are overpackers. They bring everything they own. You might joke that she packs everything but the kitchen sink. This is a funny idiom meaning she brings way too much stuff. Arriving at the airport is an experience in itself. As I mentioned earlier, you check in and go through security. But there are often delays. You might look at the departures board and see that your flight is delayed, or worse, canceled. You might say my flight was delayed due to bad weather. I had to kill time at the airport. To kill time is a very common idiom that means to do something to pass the time while waiting for something else. You might kill time by reading a book, browsing the shops, or people watching. People watching is sitting and observing the people around you, which can be very entertaining. You might say, I killed 3 hours just people watching and drinking expensive airport coffee. Once you are on the plane, the experience varies. If you are lucky, you get an upgrade to business class or first class. You might say, I got upgraded, it was a luxury experience. But most of us fly economy. You might say the flight was fully booked, it was packed. The middle seat is usually the worst one. You might say I was stuck in the middle seat between two people who snored. Snoring is the loud sound people make when they sleep. If you are afraid of flying, you might say I am a nervous flyer. Turbulence scares me. Turbulence is when the plane shakes because of bad air. You might say we hit some rough turbulence, but I held on tight. When you finally land, you feel a sense of relief. You might say, thank goodness we are on the ground. You disembark the plane, which means you get off. Then you have to go through customs. The officer might ask you, what is the purpose of your visit? You can say tourism or business or visiting family. They might ask, how long are you staying? You answer with a duration. For example, I am staying for 2 weeks, or I am here for a 5-day conference. Then you pick up your luggage from the baggage carousel. This is the machine with the moving belt that brings the bags out. Now, let's talk about the experience of being in a new place. One of the biggest joys of travel is trying the local food. This is often called culinary tourism. You might say, I love to try the street food. It is cheap and authentic. Authentic means real and genuine, not changed for tourists. You might say this restaurant is very authentic, the locals eat here. You could also say the food was out of this world, meaning it was incredibly delicious, or it was mouth-watering. On the other hand, if the food is strange to you, you might say it was an acquired taste. This means it is something you have to learn to like because it is unusual at first. For example, Some strong cheeses or spicy foods are acquired tastes. Sightseeing is another major part of travel. You might go to famous landmarks. A landmark is a famous building or object that you recognize. The Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, and the pyramids are landmarks. You might say we went sightseeing all day and saw all the major landmarks, or we took a guided tour. A guided tour is when a person leads you around and explains the history. You might say the tour guide was very knowledgeable and funny. Sometimes you just want to wander around and get lost in the city. To wander means to walk without a specific direction. You might say we just wandered around the old town for hours. It was lovely to stumble upon a hidden cafe. To stumble upon means to find something by accident or chance. This is often the best part of travel. Of course, not everything goes according to plan. Travel mishaps happen. You might get lost. You might say, we took a wrong turn and got completely lost. Thankfully, a local helped us out. You might have trouble with the language barrier. A language barrier is when you cannot communicate because you don't speak the same language. You might say there was a language barrier, so we had to use hand gestures. Hand gestures are movements with your hands to communicate. Sometimes the weather is bad. You might say, it rained cats and dogs our whole trip. It rained cats and dogs is a classic idiom that means it rained very heavily. You might also get sick. You might say, I got traveler's diarrhea. Sorry, it's not a nice topic, but it is common. Or I caught a cold on the plane. Despite these problems, we often say it is all part of the adventure. You might say nothing went according to plan, but it made for a great story. Accommodation is also a key part of travel. In the past, people mostly stayed in hotels, but nowadays there are many options. You might stay in a hostel, which is cheaper, and you share a room with other travelers. You might say, I stayed in a hostel and met people from all over the world. It was very social. Or you might try Airbnb, which is renting someone's apartment or house. You might say we rented an apartment through Airbnb so we could cook our own meals. It felt like home away from home. Home away from home is a nice phrase to describe a place where you feel comfortable, like your own home. If you have a bit more money, you might stay in a luxury resort. You might say the resort was all-inclusive. All-inclusive means you pay one price and all your food, drinks, and activities are included. Let's practice a travel dialogue in your head. Imagine you are returning to work or school after a holiday. A colleague asks, "How was your trip?" You want to tell them about it enthusiastically. You could say it was amazing. We went to Thailand. The beaches were breathtaking, and the food was spicy but delicious. We rented a scooter and explored the island. We even stumbled upon a secret waterfall that wasn't on the map. We really immersed ourselves in the local culture. To immerse yourself means to surround yourself completely. Your colleague might ask, "Did you have any trouble?" You can say we had a minor hiccup with our flight. It was delayed for 6 hours. But otherwise, everything went smoothly. A hiccup is a small problem. Using these words makes your story vivid and interesting. Now, let's transition from travel to entertainment. When we are not traveling, we often relax at home. What do you do for fun? This is a very common question in conversation. Many people enjoy watching movies or TV series. We often talk about genres. A genre is a type of movie or book. Do you like comedies, horror, romance, sci-fi, or documentaries? Sci-fi is short for science fiction. You might say, I am a big fan of sci-fi movies. I love anything with spaceships and aliens. Or you might say, I can't stand horror movies. They give me nightmares. To give someone nightmares means to make them have bad dreams. We also talk about streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime. You might say I spent the whole weekend binge-watching the new season of my favorite show. As we discussed before, binge-watching is watching many episodes at once. It is very addictive, so you might say that show is a must-watch. It means you really have to see it. Or you might say it was a bit of a letdown. A letdown is something that is disappointing because it was not as good as you expected. You might say the ending of the movie was a total letdown. Reading is another popular form of entertainment. You might read fiction or nonfiction. Fiction is stories that are made up. Nonfiction is stories that are true, like biographies or history books. You might say, I am reading a gripping thriller. I can't put it down. To not be able to put a book down means it is so exciting you want to keep reading all the time. Or you might say I read a biography of Abraham Lincoln. It was very inspiring. Some people prefer reading on an e-reader, like a Kindle, while others prefer physical books, often called paperbacks or hardcovers. You might say I love the smell of old books. I prefer paperbacks. Music is a universal language. We all listen to music. You might ask someone, what kind of music are you into? They might say, I am into rock, pop, jazz, or classical music. You might say, I have an eclectic taste in music. Eclectic means you like many different styles. You might say, I love going to live concerts. The atmosphere is electric. Electric here means exciting and full of energy. If you play an instrument, you might say, I play the guitar. I am in a band. Or I am learning to play the piano. I am still a beginner. Or you might say, I used to play the violin when I was a kid, but I gave it up. To give something up means to stop doing it. Video games are also a huge form of entertainment today. You might play on a console like a PlayStation or Xbox, or on a PC. You might say, I am a big gamer. I love role-playing games, or RPGs. Or you might say, I like casual games on my phone to kill time. Some games are competitive, like shooters or sports games. You might say, I played FIFA online with my friends last night. We got crushed. To get crushed means to lose badly. Or you might say, we won by a landslide. This means you won by a large amount. Let's talk about hobbies in general. A hobby is an activity you do for pleasure in your free time. Besides the things we mentioned, people have all sorts of hobbies. Some people like gardening. You might say, I love spending time in my garden. Planting flowers and watching them grow is very relaxing. Or I grow my own vegetables. It is very rewarding. Rewarding means you feel good because you achieved something. Some people like DIY. DIY stands for do it yourself. This is fixing or making things yourself. You might say, I am a bit of a DIY enthusiast. I built my own bookshelf last weekend. Some people like to paint or draw. You might say, I like to dabble in watercolors. To dabble means to do something occasionally, not as a professional. Or you might say, I enjoy photography. I like taking portraits of people. Photography is my passion. Now let's look at some vocabulary related to opinions on entertainment. When you recommend a movie or a book to someone, you want to be persuasive. You might say you have to see this movie. It is incredible. Or I highly recommend this book. It is a masterpiece. A masterpiece is a work of outstanding artistry or skill. If you didn't like something, you can be polite. You might say, it wasn't really my cup of tea. This is a classic British idiom that means it is not the kind of thing you like. You could say horror movies are not really my cup of tea. Or you might say it was a bit slow-paced for my liking. Or I found the plot a bit confusing. The plot is the story of the movie or book. We also use words to describe the quality of things. We say something is overrated or underrated. Overrated means something is more popular or praised than it deserves to be. You might say that restaurant is overrated. The food is just average. Underrated means something is better or more important than people think. You might say this actor is underrated. He is a great actor, but nobody knows his name. You might also say something is a hidden gem. A hidden gem is something very good that is not well known or is hard to find. You might say we found a little Italian restaurant that was a hidden gem. The food was amazing. Let's practice a scenario about entertainment. Imagine you are chatting with a friend over coffee. You ask, "Have you seen any good movies lately?" Your friend replies, "No, I haven't had time. What about you?" You can say, "Yes, I watched a fantastic documentary about ocean life. The visuals were stunning. It really opened my eyes to how important it is to protect the environment." Your friend might ask, "Is it on Netflix?" You can say, "Yes, you should definitely check it out." To check something out means to look at it or try it. Then you ask, "What are you reading these days?" Your friend says, "I am reading a mystery novel. It's a real page-turner." A page-turner is a book that is so exciting you want to turn the pages quickly to see what happens. You can reply, "Oh, I love a good mystery. What is the title?" See how easy the conversation flows when you use these natural expressions. I also want to talk about how we talk about time and frequency regarding these activities. We use adverbs of frequency like always, usually, often, sometimes, and never. You might say, "I always go for a run in the morning," or "I usually cook dinner on weekdays," or "I often go to the cinema on Fridays." We also use phrases like "once in a blue moon." This idiom means very rarely. You might say, "I go to the opera once in a blue moon." Or we use "every now and then," which means sometimes but not often. You might say, "I go bowling every now and then with my friends." Another common phrase is "in my spare time." You might say, "I like to study French in my spare time," or "in my free time." Let's do a visualization exercise focused on a relaxing evening at home. Close your eyes. Imagine it is a Friday evening. It has been a long week. You are finally home. You change into your comfortable loungewear. You go to the kitchen and make your favorite snack. Maybe some popcorn or some chocolate. You go to the living room and turn on some soft, warm lamps. The room feels cozy. You sit on your soft sofa and cover yourself with a fluffy blanket. You pick up the book you have been reading. Outside, you can hear the gentle rain falling against the window. It makes you feel even more peaceful inside. You start reading. The story is so good, you forget about all your worries. You get lost in the world of the book. You feel safe, warm, and entertained. Take a deep breath and hold that feeling. Open your eyes. Now, try to describe that evening using the past tense. You might say last Friday was perfect. I stayed in and read a book. It was raining outside, so I felt cozy under my blanket. It was a relaxing evening, just what I needed. Now, let's combine travel and entertainment in a story. Imagine you are telling someone about a trip you took where you saw a concert. You might say, "A few years ago, I went to London. It was my dream destination. While I was there, I managed to get tickets to a musical in the West End. The theater was beautiful and the performance was spectacular. The singers had amazing voices. The whole audience clapped for 10 minutes at the end. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. A once-in-a-lifetime experience is something that will probably only happen one time. You might also say, the trip broadened my horizons. To broaden your horizons means to learn new things and have new experiences that make you more open-minded. I want to encourage you to be a storyteller in English. Don't just answer questions with one word. When someone asks you about your weekend, don't just say it was good. Tell them a story. Say it was good because I went hiking. The weather was perfect, sunny but not too hot. We walked up a steep hill, and the view from the top was breathtaking. We even had a picnic at the summit. It was such a great day. Adding details like steep hill, breathtaking view, and picnic makes your English come alive. It shows you have depth and personality. We should also talk about how to express likes and dislikes more strongly. Instead of just saying, I like, you can say I love, I adore, I am crazy about, or I'm a big fan of. For example, I adore chocolate. I am crazy about football. I am a big fan of jazz music. To express dislike, you can say I hate, I detest, I loathe, or I can't stand. For example, I hate waking up early. I detest spiders. I can't stand rude people. Using strong words makes your communication more effective and colorful. It shows emotion. Let's discuss a few idioms that are useful in general conversation, not just about travel or fun. Have you heard the phrase to cost an arm and a leg? This means something is very expensive. You might say that trip to Paris cost an arm and a leg, but it was worth it. Another phrase is to let the cat out of the bag. This means to reveal a secret by accident. You might say, I planned a surprise party, but John let the cat out of the bag. Now everyone knows. Another useful one is to see eye to eye. This means to agree with someone. You might say, my boss and I don't see eye to eye on the new project. We have different ideas. If you are feeling very busy and stressed, you might say, I am running around like a headless chicken. This is a funny image. It means you are running around frantically trying to do everything. You might say, I was running around like a headless chicken this morning trying to get ready. If you finally finish a difficult task, you might say that's a weight off my shoulders. This means you feel relieved because a burden is gone. You might say, I finished my final exam. It is such a weight off my shoulders. Remember, learning idioms takes time. Don't try to memorize a dictionary of them. Just learn a few at a time and try to use them in your daily life or your journaling. Start with the most common ones. Listen for them in movies or podcasts. When you hear an idiom you don't know, write it down and look it up. Then try to use it in a sentence yourself. This is how it sticks. Let's take a moment to review some of the key vocabulary from this part. We talked about snagging a bargain, packing light, and killing time at the airport. We discussed stumbling upon hidden gems while wandering around a new city. We mentioned binge-watching shows and reading page-turners. We talked about things being overrated or underrated. We learned phrases like once-in-a-lifetime experience and broaden your horizons. Try to use at least 2 of these phrases in a conversation or a writing exercise today. For example, write a short paragraph about a hobby you have. Say it is a great way to broaden your horizons. Or write about a movie you saw that was overrated. Practice makes perfect. Before we finish, I want to remind you that making mistakes is a sign of progress. If you are making mistakes, it means you are pushing yourself to use new language. If you only use the same simple sentences, you won't grow. So don't be afraid to try out a new idiom or a complex sentence structure. Even if you get it wrong, you are training your brain to think in new ways. And the next time, it will be easier. and the time after that, it will be natural. Think of a baby learning to walk. They fall down many times, but they get up again and again until they can run. You are like that baby with English. You are learning to walk with words. Keep going, keep getting up, and soon you will be running. Thank you so much for joining me for this complete guide to English fluency. I have truly enjoyed discussing daily life, health, socializing, travel, and entertainment with you. I hope you feel inspired to use these new words and phrases in your daily interactions. Remember that fluency is a journey, not a destination. It is about connecting with people and sharing your story. So keep practicing, keep listening, and keep believing in yourself. This is Jessica from English in Advance signing off. Take care and see you next time.